Okay, so we are good. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Last show of the day. It's our fourth show of the day. We got the beautiful Helen Quail. Been in the communities for a long, long time. I'm just going to play the intro and allow people time to come in and share out to the network. How's it going, everybody? It's our fourth show of the day. It's our last one. We got the beautiful, beloved sister Helen Quell on. She is an embodied awakening guide. She's a healer, facilitator, soul companion, and writer from Scotland, but she now lives in Mount Shasta. She transmits the frequencies of remembrance, of wholeness, and of our highest expression, and her loving and soothing divine feminine presence. And voice guides one to a sense of home. As a healer and guide, Helen has a particular alignment with some of the highest levels of cosmic and galactic frequencies, particularly of the divine feminine. Transmissions of these sacred codes and the evolution of mother energies permeate all aspects of her work. Through presence, meditations, activations, light language, and group sessions, high vibrational light codes are transmitted and anchored, while her approach is to ground in the simplicity, purity, and gentleness that facilitates remarkable shifts. She's got a focus on deep embodiment of all parts of us. She has assisted beings across the planet for over 20 years, during which she has studied, remembered, and integrated numerous healing modalities, channeling new light frequencies to support the evolution of consciousness on Earth. She is a mother of 5 children, lives with 4 of her children in Mount Shasta, Earth's root chakra and powerful center of Lemurian and Ascension energies. You can find her work at www.helenquell.com and on her YouTube channel. So let me pull her up here now and we'll get started. Let's see. Helen. Here we go. All right. Wait a minute. Here we go. Start video. Unmute. There should be a. Oh, you're good. You're good.
There we go.
Hello, Helen.
Hey.
What's going on? Long time no meet. I know. I didn't. You know. I was looking at what you said about we've been friends 5 years. That's all the way back to 2015.
Yeah.
That's actually before I met Morgan. You
Yeah.
know? I mean, so this was like early Soulgy, like, you know, Todd with no shirt on and not shaving, and videos in the studio. But yeah, but you're like one of the first people I think I met. One of say the 5 or 10 people I met that are very active and support the different groups in the community. So thank you for that. And it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for coming in and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence.
Oh, it's a joy to be here. It's so fun. And, you know, like, yeah, you got to trust the timing. I mean, you and I spoke years ago about talking and connecting. And then here we are at this moment in time. It's like, okay. And yeah, I'm really happy to be here. And yeah, I was just getting a piece in the night. I didn't sleep much last night. You know what it's like just now. About a whole 7-year cycle. It was 7 years ago that California came in for me. And 7 years ago that I connected with Sally Sharon, Sally Phillips. And we both independently got guidance to do global meditations, which at that point you could have like 1,000 people and 1,500 people joining in. So we were both doing those, then we came together. And then the following year we did transmissions and meditations right through the year, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. Anyway, now we're finding ourselves, we're coming together tomorrow for the 2, the 22, the 4, 4, 4. So it's like, yeah, the thread from the past like 6, 7 years. And just, you know, pieces are coming in of alignment and synchronicities and things that we set up. And I know we're all finding just ways that our future selves have been speaking, you know, across time. And so much is coming forward now that, you know, I don't know about you, but it's just been like awe of, oh my God, this is it. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Buckle up.
that's yeah. And this, but also the sense of readiness in so many of us, just like this is what we've been preparing for our whole lives, and many lives often
Many
as well.
lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were in Scotland in what, 2012, 2013?
Yeah, I transplanted here, Todd, gosh, nearly 2 years ago now. I
Okay.
first came here in 2015. I mean, it'd been calling me for a while.
Okay.
I mean, my call to California wasn't specifically Mount Shasta, and it isn't specifically Mount Shasta, but this is where I need to be right now. And it's funny because I knew, or even before I came, that it was a throughput, like it was literally a doorway that I had to spend some time here and then go south and also connecting with southern France, Magdalene energies. Mm. But I came here in 2015 and I did some events around in America and stuff. But I'd actually been in the States in 1988. And again, it's so funny when I look back, like I was drawn to Sarasota. And if you know anything about Sarasota, it's like the totally crystalline beach where all the ships come in. And so I was there studying, you know, not conscious of why I was there. But yeah, there's just all of these loops. And
isn't that crazy how we're all making these loops? I mean,
it's amazing.
You know.
And I went back there like a few years ago and it was like, oh my God. And I realized that there was this incredible tree being that was part of what had called me there that, you know, I hadn't realized at the time, and all of these different layers. So, yeah, so I started coming here 2015 and was back and forth and then moved over here a couple of years ago. And you know, like we are all exactly where we're meant to be right now. You know, those of us that find ourselves seemingly displaced, you know, or whatever we are. I've got friends that spend half their time in southern France, half their time here. They were due to be here, and you know they can't get out of France, so they're in France, and it's just wherever we are.
There's a huge there seems to be a huge, and maybe I'm just tied to it in some way, or I guess we're tied to everything, but there seems to be a huge a huge presence or remembrance amongst many people, especially divine feminine, in regard to, well, essentially the road from the Holy Land through Europe into southern France, the what some might call the Magdalene Jesus bloodline. I mean that from an energetic sense.
Yeah.
That seems to be an important code or template that is being restored and expanded. You know, say like divine union or Christ consciousness, or you know, but it just seems to be at least, you know, on a secondary level behind some of those big ones. But that seems to be a big part of our history. Do you know much about it?
I think it's huge, Todd. Yeah, it's a huge part of my strand and essence and lineage as well. I was called back to France 2014 actually for a Magdalene pilgrimage with Judith Moore, and it was extraordinary. 111, I'm just noticing. Right at that point. Yeah, it was totally fifth dimensional. The whole week of the beings that were gathered there, we stayed in the fifth dimensional frequencies 24/7.
Wow.
And it was just incredible. And it was so activating. There was so much remembrance for me just walking that land and receiving the codes and the remembrances.
How many was there of y'all? How many were there?
Gosh, I'm not sure.
Was there a few?
Maybe like, I don't know, 15 or something.
So how many of the group were solidly in that 5D the whole time?
All of us. I mean, there was
Really?
a couple that were just like, whenever there was a flicker, Judith was amazing. She held that space like I've never seen. Like, she called people in one time because there was a child that in the place that we were that had like a really difficult night and bad dreams and different difficult experiences. She called us in and she kicked ass that we weren't holding that frequency throughout 24/7. So it was extraordinary.
Wow.
And she just called everybody to that continually, and we were working directly with the ships and with guardians of the land, both physical and non-physical, and
physical and non-physical.
Yeah. And so that was profound for me, and reactivating a lot of my path, like a lot of it has been to reactivate what's already here. I've come through a whole bunch of different, healing strands and so on. And then it's to put them aside.
Yeah. When did that start with you? Were you asleep? Did you ever go to sleep?
Well, it's like we think we're asleep, and relatively I was, but I now know that there was a ton going on when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was just not here, so I thought I was totally asleep, but I was just being kept like where I needed to be, where all this other work was going on. I got really ill in my 20s, like really ill for years. Like to the extent that I was in a wheelchair, I couldn't work, I couldn't function. And that was my big turning point. I'd had a big turning point. When I was a teenager, I got pregnant unplanned. And my daughter came along, who is a total heart being. She can't speak. She needs lifelong care. She has a condition. And that was a huge opening to what life's really about, which is connection in the heart. I'd been very academic, very in my head. She blasted things open, but it took really severe illness and the desperation of that to start opening up to initially, things to help me heal and work through the layers, because I was so unwell. And, I really moved through the layers, physical, mental, emotional, until I really started to do this soul work. I had disconnected from my soul. So that was like more than 20 years ago, and opened me up, turned me around to going a whole other direction. I was totally skeptical and, all of that kind of stuff. And it's been a journey since that time, and, ups and downs like all of us, and big awakenings at various points, and, twists and turns, because as you know, it's not a linear, it's spiral.
Exactly.
And different points. And then like for the last 10 years, really committed my life to.
That's what I was going to say. There seems to come a point, because your story sounds similar to a lot of people's in a lot of ways. And I like to talk about this stuff because there's a lot of people waking up now.
Yeah.
One of the things, I mean, you had a special needs child that was already teaching you. And then you have this extreme medical condition. You're in a wheelchair. This is all whenever that period was. But you, I'm sure, got to a point where you said, after you went through these traumas and did what you did, where you just said, hey, I'm in. I know what I'm supposed to do, at least enough. I know the direction I'm supposed to head.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go for it. And so you've got a child that you're caring for when you're getting this stuff starting to come on, and you've had to like thread everything together, really, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's more to the whole story that she wasn't with me. I had to let go of caring
Mm-hmm.
for her. So that was a huge, huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there was a couple of points in that journey of the body like breaking down, where I just remember, I just knew without knowing that everything had changed. And there was another point where prior to that, where I was really, really unwell, and without sounding dramatic, it felt like dying, literally
Mm-hmm.
dying.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a part of me that was like, so be it if this is death. And so it was more of an ego death, but it felt like death in the body. And I know like that point was really the start of like a journey back. um and then of course we go along, and like I sort of joke that my motto, like probably for many of us, on my grave or whatever, will be she let go. It's just let go, let go,
Yeah,
let go,
let
let
go.
go. And I've laughed at myself many times when I'm like, but I let go
Mm-hmm.
already. And these days it's just 24/7. It's just
Yeah,
constant.
yeah.
And
Especially this year.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And any illusion, yeah, anytime we think anything, that we know who we are, where we are, any of it,
It all gets blown up.
it's just totally. And this time is so amazing because nobody can do any of that. Nobody, there's just no, the illusion is just crumbling,
Yeah,
and
it
and
really
it's
is.
the uncertainty of what so many have deemed to be like what we can rely on. So it's like, well, what's life? What is there? What's true? And of course that brings up, tremendous fear and all of the things that we see, but also like there's like right from the start, like I didn't want to say too much like overtly, but right from the start I was so excited and so grateful, because that part was just like, oh my God,
So were you were telling family and friends and stuff at that time when it first did
um
you go through this, the estrangement from family and being
yeah,
yeah, okay. Just so I wanted to make sure. I
totally,
ask everybody, but
totally, yeah, totally. And still, I mean, it's different, but it still is. Yeah, I'm like the black sheep, I'm the weirdo,
yeah.
and blah blah blah. But yeah,
The
I think
gold the
that's what
golden sheep.
the golden sheep. That's what so many of us go through, right? And it's just it's a beautiful, it's painful, it's really
Mm,
painful, but
mm.
it's also a beautiful practice in really being authentic. And even like with my kids as well, I mean, like my kids, these beings that live with me, they're all very, very different and really powerful. And they all go through their journeys of just being completely rejecting of
Is
everything that
everybody
I'm about.
does everybody talk about this stuff in your house? I mean, is it or is it
No, no, like the mostly they're like, nah, that's mum's,
oh
weird
yeah, yeah.
shit.
Yeah, yeah. Woo woo.
And they've got their own ways, like one
Yeah.
of my sons is very tuned in, but he doesn't use any of this language. He's not into this at all, but
Yeah, yeah.
he totally gets it. And they all do in their own ways. One of my other sons he died when he was born, so he has a bunch of challenges,
Hmm.
and he's got like a really deep wisdom, and
Wow.
amongst all of that as well. So
That's
they're
amazing. That's
they're
amazing.
well, they're hugely grounding, like, and the part of me that would just fly off and do all kinds of stuff, like this is the path that I've set up, because my strand is very much about the mother energies. Like I chose to really live it. My
Hmm.
person didn't. My human was like not for having any children. My soul was like, this is how we're going to do it. And then my youngest is adopted from Ethiopia. That's a
Hmm.
whole story. Again, wasn't a planned choice, and she came in. So they are massive teachers, and since we've been in Shasta, especially, I've known for quite a long time that part of my strand is, like yourselves, is intentional living, is calling together soul family and forging new fifth dimensional ways of living and being and creating. And even in our pod, we've been playing with that, and we've had people staying here and just exploring what that looks like, and the different parts of life and how nothing is separate. And you know what it's like in Shasta, it's like no stone is unturned, you know, everything gets brought up for everybody,
Yeah.
including each of them, you know. So
I like
it's,
Sedona. Sedona's the same way.
yeah,
Actually, every place I go now is like that. No, I'm
it's
not. I'm
just,
kidding. But Sedona and Shasta, I didn't get hit too hard in Shasta. I don't. I think it was a pretty calm 4 days. But
yeah, yeah,
Sedona's always treated me very friendly. you
yeah.
know.
It depends where we're at. Glastonbury's similar, you know, like, you know, I spent a bunch of time around there. I thought I might be living there at one point. And it was very kind to me. Kauai was very kind to me as well. But I know lots of people, it's like, you know, you're chewed up and spit out. And
Yeah.
here when you're done, you're done. And I have felt that I'm moving through a cycle, you know, it's not going to be a long thing here, but you know, at the moment, everything is just like totally in this now. So
Yeah.
we're just here, we're holding the light. I saw that beautiful transmission from the Andean grandmother. I don't know if you saw it. And
Yeah. I saw
that's,
that this
yeah,
morning.
yeah, and that's what she was talking about. Just wherever you are, wherever you find yourself physically at this moment in time, trust your flame, trust your light, and just hold that.
So you mentioned earlier when you were down in Sarasota, we were there in
Yeah,
January, and
yeah,
I know a lot of people have been doing work down there for years. Greg Prescott, Michelle
yeah.
Walling, Lauren Hazel. But you mentioned uh, something about about ships, um, and there's a lot of people that make comments about ships. All right, in a lot of different regards. And I know that the universe speaks to all of us differently in terms of how we take in the information and can process it and understand it. Everybody's experiences are different. What's your relationship been with ships, whether it's visual, telepathic, all of the above,
Yeah.
visitation?
Um, okay, well, I'll kind of like flip back. I mean, just to give you a bit of context, my journey over the last 8 years or something like that, part of my cycle was a while ago. I was getting continual downloads and channelings of information, healing systems, all sorts of presences, all sorts of, I did a lot of work with the Syrians over a period of time, very tangibly on a daily basis. Um, and then that all stopped. That all changed, and my channel has changed. So, you know, I've been very, very comfortable in those frequencies and very, very comfortable. Um, yeah, just in that whole environment. That's my natural home. My challenge in the last few years has been to come down and in, like I believe it is for all of us. It's about
Yeah.
embodiment. So my relationship, I don't get the same kind of visual information or detail of information. My interaction with source, if you like, and with galactics is much more intuitive and in the body, just kinesthetic, and it's knowing this. So, you know, like here where there, you know, in Shasta where there's so much, um, I just can sense it, you know, and
Yeah.
I can see without like seeing with my physical eyes, and I'm
Yeah.
just really drawn and guided. And
So, I mean,
yeah,
and part of the reason, well, really the main reason I asked is so people, and even me, I mean, can get a taste of people's experiences. Now, in
yeah,
listening to you, I'm kind of getting more subjects all in one, I guess. One of the things that people, if I think I'm hearing you correctly, but one of the things that it sounds like that you've experienced that a lot of people I've talked to have is they have these what seemingly external um, partners or brothers or sisters or star family or whatever you want to call it, angelics, everything. And then as time goes on, it's I think you said these words like where did they go? But they're actually I think is that part of the embodiment? Do you
yeah,
think?
integrate. Yeah, I had a great experience with the I had one particular Syrian guide, but say on a daily basis, it was just phenomenal what was coming in. And at that point, I remember actually saying to them, show me yourself. And like they did. And I was like, whoa, it was like, okay, all right, I get it.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, but then what I realized was that was me. That was
Of course.
myself,
Yes.
So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
integrated, and the same with other aspects and Melchizedek aspects. And I had very intense Magdalene experiences over a bunch of time, very, very intense. And then they integrated. And I, I've learned and I see, we need our mind to stay sane. We need our mind to stay healthy. So we get what we can take,
Yeah.
what our mind can take, what our physical body can take, what our
Yes.
system can take. So like I know that, I got what my mind could accommodate at various
Yeah.
points, so
Yeah.
that we don't just completely, lose balance. But yeah, often when I'm working with people, a lot of times here, what's happening in sessions and one-on-ones is yeah is activating these connections with an aspect of our star family, our self, a galactic aspect, and bringing that in more fully. And that happens when we're ready, and it happens at the pace and the extent that we're ready for. And it's different for everybody. It
Yeah.
can't be forced.
Yeah.
We can prepare the soil, we can be here for it. But we are meeting ourselves and we're communicating with ourselves. Same with angelic aspects, it's the whole idea of, source is not anywhere other than right here.
Of
And we're
course.
just opening to this more and more, it is, and that's an infinite process, as you know. It's an infinite process of awakening and embodiment. There's
Yeah.
no end point. And
No.
yeah, we just keep.
Well, and it's interesting too, because as I talk to people and experience myself, that, even my first, I think it was my first experience, the cosmic Christ appeared in the trees, and I thought at the time the same thing, but then later on I realized that was me. That was my higher
Yeah.
self. But as I hear more people talk in that regard, I start to look at, well, wow, in the physical, we had the Bible and the Torah and the Quran and sacred texts and all, oral histories from the primitive civilizations and such. And there's code in that, there's
Mm,
clues.
mm,
And then as 2012, begun and that time, and this became more mainstream, or we're going to make it mainstream. It's getting there.
yeah.
And people started to talk about their connections and their channelings and their transmissions and downloads and their dimensional experiences. And to me, it's the same thing. It's like, this is the trail we left, you
Mm,
know, this is, and I think a lot of us, and rightfully so, got over attached to different connections or faces of the universe.
yeah.
And so we've kind of gotten to a point now where I see it as we're creating the new template. Basically, we're taking
Yeah.
everything that's been given
Yeah.
and we're running with it now. I think we're,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
totally. And it is new, isn't it? Because, historically with religions and so on, there's always been like some other kind of deity or something external. And yeah, and I've seen a shift here as well in Shasta from when I came like 5 years ago. Um, and I had felt this move towards embodiment and felt this move, it's brings in the divine feminine path, which is awakening, but then back down and into the body. And God is here, God is in this.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have to get anywhere, we don't have to change anything. All of that is distraction from what's always been here.
Yeah.
And I've seen that shifting. It needs to shift. It needed to shift. It's getting healthier in terms of the community here, and in terms of, what the mountain, my sense of the mountain is, well, a bunch of things, but I kept being told, I know I'm sort of digressing, but this is just what's coming.
No, you're good.
Um, I kept feeling like that the mountain at this particular point is the most important point in terms of the frequencies of the shift. And I know there's loads of points. I mean, I'm very connected into that Magdalene line through Glastonbury, south of France, into Egypt as well. But the keys that are here, the particular nature of the portal here, it's just got a unique role right at this particular point. And, that
Mm.
it will shift. Um, so that's one piece. And also that it hasn't been possible for the mountain to embody, for like you know, what we were saying a minute ago about we can only take so much. You know, humanity is starting to shift. What's possible to come through here, and it's not about the mountain as being something special. It's just about a way that we source as us can come in. That is still not, that has a ways to go. That is going to continue to grow and grow as we can take more. But yeah, I totally agree. People come here, spiritual seekers, and they're looking for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, my work is really about meeting ourselves and meeting the edges of discovering us as creator, as God, as goddess, as source, and how we're coming into our system and into our body, and embracing the places that are waiting to come home, expanding into this and deepening into this.
Well put.
So well,
That was well put.
I don't even know what I said.
There's two things I'd love to get your perspective. Two things that intrigue the heck out of me. One of them is what you just said. Like, I think, wait a minute, there is no death, which we know that, but we're integrating this non-physical and the multidimensional into our human and our human experience, which is shared. It's very physical. And I think to myself, hey, I bet we're going to be able to do the things we do in dimension here in the physical. Like, that's intriguing. Like, that's mind blowing, because if you even look at like the rate of information processing and learning and expansion in 2020, just 2020, everything is moving so quickly, quantumly. And I mean, we, like you were saying, you only do what you're ready to do, or you only see what you're ready to see. So when we're at the level of being able to expand rapidly our skills and abilities, obviously we'll be able to process the, you know, to fathom the you know, the almost impossibility of the reality, God in the flesh, basically. That's one thing that kind of intrigues me. Do you think it's going to be possible? This is my first question. Do you think it's going to be, do you think that's possible? Do you think we'll do in the physical what we do in the non-physical? And my second question has to do with inner earth, and Shasta.
Well, okay, well, let me 133. Every time I look at the clock, I'm getting these numbers. Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, like, that's a huge topic. Like, yes, and you know, it's got its own pace. Like, we have different capacities. There's, you know, as you know, there's a lot of like younger beings on the planet that came in awake and stayed awake and hit the ground running, and they've retained these capacities for all kinds of things, all kinds of telepathic communication, and you know, manifestation, and so on. The more that we drop the illusion of limitation, the quicker we will access. And we need to stay grounded. You know, part of what happened in my own journey, like a few years ago, when I was traveling around the planet and, you know, doing groups in Egypt and doing events and you know, really expanding. And then I stopped everything totally. I walked away from everything because that was my guidance to do that. And in the subsequent time, it was a deeper dive down and into the shadow, into the work with the masculine, especially, but also like into the grounding. I'd had so much expansion and it wasn't grounded enough. So there's a continual dance of expansion, but here, you know, like my natural home was like, you know, I like just wanted to be in the cosmos. I wasn't here for a big chunk of my life. So this is a real, you know, it's like the whole like feather's edge of awakening, you know, where we can get pulled into egoic identification at any time. There's very few beings on the planet.
You know, you never, I mean, it could happen. You could wake up tomorrow morning and there's a 12-foot angel standing in your room, you know, or something that's far beyond anything you've experienced. I love when you said, show me yourselves. I've done that many times. This year.
Yeah.
And Yeah, it's interesting
Yeah,
what I
and
see.
it was like, right, I get why I'm not
Yeah,
getting to see
exactly. They're
this,
like,
because my
and they even
mind would
told me,
just go,
yeah,
holy.
they even told me they're like, you don't want to see this. You can't see this yet. And I'm always with my eyes open when we do it at night. I'm always, trying to, but I've kind of backed off now. But
Yeah, because it becomes a distraction,
sure it
Todd, right?
does.
Doesn't
Yeah,
it? You know,
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
yeah, and it is just
definitely.
herself, it's herself talking to herself.
That's
Like,
right. That's what happened to me earlier in the year. I would lay down. We would lay down together and put our hands together, and then I'd be like, "Who am I talking to? Who am I
yeah,
going to talk to here?" It's interesting the way that's kind of gone out. I'm lucky that I do this with somebody every night, so it's you have that other person to talk to about. And I know there's a lot of circles of friends. I'm sure you have them where y'all talk about your stuff and you're connected. Did you feel that? Did you feel what came in today? Or and there's a lot of
yeah.
validation in the things you're going through. One of the things that intrigues me too is inner Earth because of a knowing, right?
Mm,
Because of memory. And I know it's a very, very, at least for my own opinion, I'll just put it that way, based on what I've gotten, is it's very complex. It's very multi civilization, multi species. I mean, this is just kind of what I get. It's a lot of energy,
yeah.
but there has been, quite a bit of credible um, emphasis on the reality and the truth of places like Teos, underneath Shasta, in the Grand Canyon. I mean, all over the world.
Mm,
What's your? I know you've not been there for years and years and years, but what's your take on their role? I mean, because
mm,
the reason it intrigues me is because these aspects of me that are up here, so to speak, are non-physical most of the time,
mm,
right?
mm.
But the inner earth to me feels very physical.
It's more physical. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's a really good point.
mhm,
Yeah, because a bunch of people, do have literal physical encounters
mm,
around here on the mountain, with beings from Telos. Um, so, it's really nice as you're speaking about it, I'm really getting it in my belly.
good.
So I can feel, yeah, like it's a really valuable point about the difference of the level of involvement from
Hmm.
beings that are completely non-physical, beings that are residing in a dimension of the planet,
Yeah.
um so are much more intimately and intricately involved in this whole awakening. And I just feel the permanent benevolence of our families here.
Mm,
um just That's probably the best phrase, guiding us, and just
hmm.
like silently, just in a night, and through all the different ways that we're conversing and communicating, and literally cheering us on. I felt a lot of that recently, a lot of like celebration. um it's a really interesting point to explore, like just the nature of that different kind of dynamic and relationship with the beings, not just here, but in the other
Yeah.
cities and the other dwellings. And, some people have talked about, how these are going to come up and so on. And, like I don't get involved in that kind of stuff. I just kind of show up and
Yeah.
do the work. But
It's kind of like the waiting for something to appear. Yeah.
mm,
But for me, because of the fact that, if let's just say that the non physical or the etherical, is here and the physical's here, there's like a, there's like a bleed through there, right? And
yeah.
so I look at what I innately know but can't explain, and I know there's a physical aspect to it. And I think, well, how's that going to work? So
Mm-hmm.
are they just
Mm-hmm.
like Helen to me? Are they,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just, and again, at the end of the day, it's not important because we all know what's important. And
Yeah, but it's part of our inquiry. And like I say, I know people personally that, have been walking around and met people that just seem as physical as you and I,
yeah,
have a communication, and then they disappear, like literally. And that happens semi regularly here. Um,
that's kind of
so
cool. I can dig that.
yeah.
That's kind of cool. I can dig that.
And it happens with people. There's a couple of guys here that are just like not spiritual, you know, they're like mountain guys or whatever, and they're like, you know, it's all woo-woo shit. And then they have these experiences and they're just like, I can't explain that, you know, but this happened, you know. And
Well, I don't,
there's
yeah. And I just want to clarify because I have total, like, I mean, I'm like, I want to know. Um, there's a part of me, but I just meant that always, because it is all me, right? I mean, it is,
yeah.
from your perspective, from your universe, it's all you. I mean, so I know we're all one, but there's something about that connection that just, you know, is intrigues me. And I think it's a part of what's going to unfold in a
Mhm.
very close way. And, but I'm not going to get wrapped up in it and distracted because I know
Mhm.
I've got to focus on myself. And if I focus on
Mhm.
myself, everything's going to come that I need is going to come to me. I
Yeah.
wanted I wanted to ask you because I don't want to run out of time. I know you're very aligned with the Mother Goddess, the Magdalene, uh, the Divine Feminine. Can you, and because it's such an important part, it is the important part. It is
Key.
the thing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, based on everything I've in my own experience and what I do, that obviously the patriarchal was a falsely empowered masculine, therefore disempowered feminine. That energy was suppressed. We all know the story. It's a beautiful thing because it's coming into balance. Um, what's your relationship with the goddess? What's your mission? And anything you can tell us on the subject.
Yeah, you're good because that was it. That was bubbling around inside me, like that wants to speak some more about that. Yeah, gosh, you know, I really feel it is the key. It's the key place, and like this awareness came in about my own path a bunch of years ago before it was alive much collectively. So the part of me was like, holy shit, how the heck's this going to happen? You know, and like this is huge. And my particular strand of the frequencies that I carry, you know, it felt like a big ask, like a risky mission, if you like. Um, so when this information came in, you know, the part of me is going, well, you know, but so much has changed. It's such a short time on the planet, you know, with these huge big shifts over different points. And I felt the strength, you know, the divine feminine, as you know, we touched upon, is about everything in creation, the earth, the body, everything that's in form is the she,
Hmm.
and the masculine is the formless, and the marriage is the union is the marriage of the two, of the formless and form. Um, so you know, the rebalancing between these aspects is bringing us as awakened beings fully into life, into every aspect of life, where nothing's excluded. So it is our relationships, it is our creation, it's how we exchange energy and create food and all of it. And our relationship with the mother, with the planet, you know, is profoundly central to that. 144. It's not that I'm
Right.
looking at the clock, but every time I look, it's
Mine
like
says
boom.
mine says
Um,
444. Mine says 444, so we're good.
Perfect, perfect. Um, so yeah, I was feeling this call, this shift into embodiment. Thank goddess, because you know, a few years ago in particular, the whole new age spirituality scene was so freaking toxic and so
Mm-hmm.
disembodied and so much spiritual bypassing and so
Mm-hmm.
unhealthy. And you know, the shift has come in of awakening consciousness in the body. So, and then of course the feminine is bringing like a massively needed balance of flow and surrender. Are you still there?
Yes,
You
I'm here.
frozen? Oh
That
yeah,
was
you're
you.
still
Yeah, you
okay.
froze a little bit. Yeah,
Right, yeah, okay.
you're good.
um so yeah, it's the feminine balance. I mean, we know how desperately this is needed, and it's not one or the other, it's the balance. The masculine is suffering so desperately on the planet, particularly in America. You know, when I came here, I was shocked to really meet the programming directly at how toxic it is. Like, just
Mm-hmm.
it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So we're we're all healing from the distortions in these programs and the belief in any kind of separation. And it
Yeah.
is about the healing of each aspect, but it's about their interrelationship. It's not the masculine and the feminine, it's about the dance. You're living
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
And and it's in all levels. It's in our intimate relationships, it's in how we structure our living. And I've been really noticing that in this spell of the whole piece about focus and flow, the masculine focus and the feminine flow. And as like, millions, billions are like being kind of compelled into a different way of living, particularly here where it's so driven, and everybody just works and all
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
time, and it's just on all the time. And then some people still are, but many are being pulled into a different rhythm. And we're invited to feel and to rest and to shift gear. But then it's like, well, what does focus look like in that? What is the dance between these aspects? And just like moving backwards and forth between what is a balance in any given point. That's something that most of us just don't know how to do. We do know how to do it. We've been disconnected from it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like
So the
it's like you hear a tune, like like a musical instrumental, and you kind of like, I know that tune. But
yeah,
how do you
yeah,
make that how do you make
yeah.
the music sound that way? But
It's like we're peeling, literally peeling off all of these overlays,
yeah.
all of the noise. I was so conscious of that when this all like exploded, how much noise there was energetically. And there still is, but it's the frequency of that noise is shifting. So much of that noise is just total distraction. Um, so like to find our way into the silence of our own being and but also into the pulse and the echo of our own heart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That, again, this is the feminine path. It's the purified heart. It's not the emotional heart. It's the spiritual heart that is our our beacon, and it's our our soul song that's going to call us uniquely for each one of us. Each one of us has got our own dance. That's what makes it
Mm-hmm.
so glorious. There's a collective swell, but each one of us has got our own rhythm in that dance and our
Yeah.
own path. And this is the place that will guide us
Yeah.
to
Absolutely. That, I mean, it's like it's the constant. It's the thing. I mean, it's
yeah,
whether
yeah,
we suppressed it or not, it never left. It was always there. I mean, it's just mind blowing, and
yeah,
it's my and because we're embodying everything. What really blows my mind is you're starting to see the the mother goddess energy come forth in individuals, obviously, and so many of them being women who've been leading the way,
mm,
women like yourself, for years. But as more men come to the party and we see more transformation in both women and men, it's amazing to see that frequency. And even in myself, I can see it,
yeah, yeah.
And,
I really see a big shift in that. I've been really encouraged. I remember when my sister and I came in 2015. We were flying in to Miami to do our first event, and we were like, our whole theme was co-creating through divine union
mm,
at all levels. And we were like, where are these awakened men? Like, how many do you know? I know like five, I know like six. We were literally like counting them in one hand. And just a quick story, in that particular weekend, it was such a beautiful message because we had an evening and we had the day and we had a weekend. So people could come for different parts. At every point of that weekend, the balance of male and female was 50-50. So it would be like 11 and 11, or 5 and 5, or 12 and 12. And we had the most beautiful awakened men showing up in that moment in Florida like 5 years ago. And it feels like such a kind of forerunner of some of what was going to come. And I've seen a big shift.
yeah,
Of course, not widespread, but
Well, it's happening.
It's not, you
Yeah.
know, it doesn't happen at the same pace like we've been saying, but these
Mm.
amazing bursts and sparks and growths in consciousness in men and women, you know, and
Yeah.
shifts and reclaiming in consciousness to what is true, and starting to dissolve and disintegrate some of the layers of illusion around what all of that means, and what is actually authentic and true
Yeah.
divine essence and masculine and feminine aspects.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And the other thing too that I have to take my hat off to, or recognize, let's say to recognize. So, because I mean, I've talked to a lot of women like you that have been doing this for a long time, long before it was even known, you know, and and the energetic gateways or doors that they opened, the stuff that they anchor and continue to anchor, because I live with one and I watch it all the time. You know, I know when she's anchoring something for the collective. It's like, you know, I mean, it's.
yeah,
But anyway, I don't you think that people? I mean, I know none of us can miss a step on the way. That's just how the universe works. You're not going to get something for nothing. But it seems like people are people. Let's say that somebody that's reawakening today or this month isn't having to go through on a linear level the
yeah,
years of trauma, like what you went through.
yeah. It's
They're,
much faster.
yeah,
Yeah. And I see it here, especially like people that are called here and they're really conscious, you know, and I'm like, well, how long have you been in this? Oh, a couple of months.
yeah,
Like
right.
seriously. And
Isn't
I'm like,
that?
what? You know, like, so yeah, for sure. I'm saying, and you know, even like people being called here is just, or whatever, it's not necessarily here, but whatever on their path or, you know, shift in their life. Yeah, for sure. It's my guess is just because the baseline frequency is
Yeah,
shifting, you
yeah,
know, that it's just, you know, we can just, yeah, go a lot, the trajectory is a lot quicker.
yeah.
But, you know, it takes what it takes. And, you know, and different generations came in and had to do a whole bunch of groundwork. Um, and yeah, it's amazing to see how fast it can happen. And
So I know you work with individuals as an energy practitioner. You're obviously very connected, and I'm not just saying this because of the discussion today, because I can see your energy for 5+ years since I've known you. Um, do you receive collective intel like some people do? Do you kind of have an idea or your own idea? I'm not saying it's gospel, but you know, like in your own mind, what do you feel? Where do you feel we're at? What
sure.
do you think is in our near future? I mean, I know that's not really a 5D aligning method, but you know, to predict anything. But what are you looking at? What do you think where do you think we're at? You know?
Okay, well, say a couple of things to that. I mean, my role is primarily collective. My role is with groups,
Okay. Okay.
both physically. I mean, I do one-on-ones, but you know, I keep getting told get out of the groups, like, and specifically California because of the keys that are here energetically, but globally too. So I've done a bunch of traveling, and you know, again, like many of us, been sent to various points to do the work that's been needed. Particularly a few years ago, I did a lot of that. Um, so did a lot of very conscious light working and good working and that kind of thing. Um, my work's changing, but it is still first and foremost about the collective consciousness shift. Um, I don't get the detail of information. That's not my role. Like I say, I'm not a translator. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm not a commentator. I've done some of that in the past, and that's shifted. My role is very simple, to hold space for the feminine embodiment, if you like.
Wow.
But that said, I feel it. You know, I feel it very intuitively. Like, yeah, you know, just some of these particular shifts. You know, recently, you know, I mean, the January one was huge. That was just so pivotal. Yeah, so I feel them, but I don't get the detail. I don't need the detail. I
Yeah.
just know. So, like, I know tomorrow is really important, and we're doing this work for the 2-2. Um, so yeah, I just feel it very, you know, intuitively and sensually in my body. And it's like I just don't need to get involved in the details. There's other people that can do that. That's their role, and they'll give a whole bunch of detail.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, Mandy and I are super close, and you know, she gets all that kind of information. But we're just holding the space in a different way, but in a very similar way,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think
So
there's a lot to be said too, and I wonder if that's a soul maturation thing or if it's um, just unique to some people, and that is where you don't have to know. You just
yeah,
like
yeah,
I've done that a lot this year. I'm like, okay, I know that
mm,
something just
mm,
came in, one way or
mm,
the other,
mm.
and like my mind isn't even like it's just like
Yeah,
okay,
it's like,
I don't need to
yeah,
know.
I don't even go there. And it was
Yeah.
interesting that the more I stepped up, the more I was really called to work planetarily and to do events internationally, the less I got. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
just show up.
Mm-hmm.
And there's enough coming through in the information for people to feel the frequency and the codes and know who has to be there. Because my work is also, like many of us, all about co-creation.
Yeah.
It's, whoever is called, whether it's something online or something physical, getting chills. The keys that we carry and the alchemy of this something greater that we then can create, and that often aligns with place and time, divine timing in particular places as well. And it's the combination of all of those codes, and then what we can open for the collective and what we can anchor for the collective.
Yeah.
So that's very much my role. And it's like, yeah, I just keep it super simple. I don't get involved. I don't go there. I trust it, because I've been shown time and time again, and it's sweet. It's not necessary, but it's very sweet to see, like I say, what's happening just now with stuff from 7 years ago and 6 years ago, coming around, going, oh shit, this is what we seeded then,
Mm-hmm.
and that was seeded from another point, and just trusting the timing. When I got a call to, like, I got guidance to be in California to anchor a center of light at a point where I'm like, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know, I was like, how the heck? I've got kids, blah, 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 blah. And, things align when they're meant to, and when we listen and we
Mm-hmm.
trust. And this, how you're living. Um, and yeah, like the detail, we're designing it all, we're creating it all. It's all there already. We're just accessing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah, I think for me, like this year, as I just observe everything, go through things myself too, it's like the biggest challenge, and that's probably not the right word, but the biggest challenge is trying to get used to it. Like, oh, I'm not
to
supposed to plan
to
anything.
not knowing.
I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to listen to my body's telling me you might need to just eat once a day now, and I'm like, well,
Yeah,
okay, but it
yeah,
used to be that those things kind of went over, like because
right,
we weren't accustomed
yeah,
to following the guidance to that degree. The
yeah,
guidance would say you need to go to California. You got a bunch of kids, but you're going, and you go,
yeah,
and you align because you get to that point, like you were
yeah,
saying when you were having the health issues where you just put your hands up and say, okay,
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
you know, but
yeah,
that's kind of hard to get used to, including things like just the intricacies of life, like sending messages to people back and forth,
mm,
or
mm,
setting up an appointment, or going to the grocery store. I mean, they're like making a list to go to the store. I mean, it's like
yeah,
these things aren't going to be there. Like,
yeah,
so how do I talk to Helen? And I guess
yeah,
it's just happening as a natural part of the main element, which is the goddess energy
yeah.
taking its rightful place.
Yeah. And isn't it beautiful? I mean, it takes what it takes. I'm not condoning anything. There's so many perspectives on what's going on, but it's like, this is where we are. And we've been like catapulted into a whole other arena of this where things are just not optional. Like you say, it's a whole other level. But like people are saying to me, so where are you going next? I'm like, I have no idea, because whatever was there is just like, it's just not relevant, because we have to be absolutely in this point of co-creation.
Yeah.
And I keep hearing the words choice point as well. You were asking about what do I sense. I do know how important this choice point is. And I've learned through experience that there's often, you know, multiple blueprints.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there's a stronger dynamic and energy for a certain direction. Um, but, we can go the long way or the short way. And so I feel there's a very powerful trajectory, and there's choice points,
Yeah.
that lie in each one of us. And then as we come together and how that power increases. And it's so fantastic to see, again, whole other levels of what's happening with collective meditations and gatherings, you know, and the spikes and the frequencies and the tangible evidence in that. So, you know, it's up to us, you know, again, it doesn't lie. There isn't a predestined thing that's lying outside of us about where this is all going to go. We are living it, we are creating it, and we have the power. We are, you know, there's, you know, it's a big piece about reclamation, reclaiming our hearts and reclaiming our power. And continue, like you're saying, like continually peeling off these layers. You know, I've seen it just again and again with all the discussions about, you know, 5G and blah blah blah, and you know, and it, you know, pulls me, and sometimes, and it really resonates, and also it's a lot of noise, and it's still an activity at a certain level. There's a deeper truth in silence and in our own being and in our own wisdom that will keep calling us. And it's, yeah, it's just, it's a real art.
Through all the distractions,
Yeah.
through all the narratives that have a finite existence, and all the distractions, no matter what they are, relationships, children, work, you know, there is one thing that stays.
Yeah, because all of this is going to fall. Everything's going to fall away. Everything's going to change. What remains. Yeah, and it's coming back to that, and who's asking the questions and who's at the center.
Yeah.
And just, I want to just thank you, Todd, for what you're doing. It's absolutely amazing. And, you know, particularly at this point in time where you're just really like just stepping it up and out, and just, you know, really holding such a container for frequency and for community. And it's fabulous.
You're very welcome. I'm just one of two. I'm one of two. I'm the transmitter. She's the receiver. She transmits to me. But I mean, it's obviously a physical representation of what the entire energetic experience is collectively, which is bringing feminine energies, mine and hers, masculine energies, mine and hers, and everyone that creates the vortex. The portal, as I understand it, it's always been explained to me that way, and even when Solji spoke to us, very much the same way. But you're very welcome. I love what you said earlier, and that's kind of how I would look at it. Is, well, you said something like, well, I'll put it in my own words, where you said, you know, kind of like you do what you do. You know what you do. You know what you're to do. You don't try to do anything outside of it. You just do your part. And that's really the way I see what our role is, and other people's roles, and the way it kind of works in line with the co-creation and collaboration frequency that's rapidly increasing in 2020. And I think you're right. I think we're getting to a point collectively where there will be less discussion, period, but less discussion about some of the experiences and connections that we have, and it will be more about that aligned human hero, standing shoulder to shoulder with the brothers and sisters and creating community, co-creation, and collaboration. And that's really it. Which is funny because we spent out, you did, you know what I mean? You spent all that time up there.
Oh, I did too.
Right. And the last place you want to go is in the trenches.
Tell me about it.
And that's where we're going to end up. We're going to end up there with no apparitions appearing, because those are us anyway. And we're all going to be like, let's get on with the living and the loving.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, like, look, you know, what's happening with Vera and Trees and everybody, you know, it's so beautiful, you know, and you know, I'm so connected in with them as well. And yeah, it's like, it's just coming all the way back in. And I know I was kicking and screaming, like I wanted to stay up there and do all that stuff. But we're going back to that. You know, we chose this so that we could come through this birth canal of birthing the infinite into these bodies, and then living as awake, heart-based, incredible, multi-dimensional beings, not limited to any idea of just being humans. Humans are amazing, and humans are multi-dimensional. We are multi-dimensional. And this is the time. This is the time.
And to me, it's like what feels to me, it's like we've come all this way and we've come all this way, and now I think I don't know. I just feel like there's going to be this long span of, why would you go through something and kind of like defeat it and then just walk away? In other words, there's
Mm.
like a coronation type energy, like a celebration type energy, like,
Yeah.
in the physical, integrated with the non-physical, which to me, that's mind blowing. You can hear
Yeah.
stories about Atlantis and Lemuria and taking nothing away from our past or anything, but we're completing it. It's like we're completing the circuit,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to that
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah.
Do you have
Yeah. And
anything?
bringing and
Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, yeah, completing and bringing an entirely new as well. Like
Absolutely.
that was,
Yeah.
like there's a bunch of us here that are to bring in things that couldn't be sustained here
Mm.
before. So, we're yeah, of course it's not linear any of it, but it's like we're bringing all the ingredients
Yeah.
together and birthing something entirely new together.
Yeah. See, yeah, it's almost like, and I've done it. We've all done it. Oh my God, I had a experience with this particular essence or this galactic, and they gave me this, you know, and it's like later on, because I can remember we had one time, and they said, here's the template. Now take it and expand it. So
Yeah.
it's like, to me,
Yeah.
that's just a metaphoric experience of saying this code is now open. So we're not just
Mm-hmm.
opening
Mm-hmm.
code and going back to the original blueprint in my mind. We're
Mm-hmm.
actually doing what you're saying. We're taking, okay, this is where the composite of our being took it to. Now we're
Yeah.
going to take it
To the
further.
next.
Yeah.
Totally. It's about,
Mm.
I call myself a cosmic evolutionary with my tongue in my cheek sometimes, but that's
Mm.
it. It's about the future, not linear, but about
Mm.
evolution and about creating something new.
Yeah, you are
And
a
that's
cosmic
there's
evolutionary being.
well,
That's
likewise, that's why a bunch of us
we
are
are.
here.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
wrote a soul speak one time, and it's something like that. It's like, I am a cosmic evolutionary being, and I'm tired of hiding it.
Yay.
And I
Coming
think
out.
that's another good thing that's happening right now too, because especially because of the circumstances, it gives you some contrast, and uh, more people are open to, hey, this isn't working after all.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
are these
yeah, yeah.
crazy people
Yeah,
talking about
maybe
up
I'll pay
here?
attention after
Right.
all. So, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now you said you have. Do you have is the meditation or the event that you have tomorrow? Is it
Yeah,
online, or is it only in person?
it's no, it's just in your own space, so you don't need to
Okay.
do anything online. I will do a live at 11 a.m.,
Hmm.
which I will be doing anyway, but I'll be linking into that field.
Okay.
But it's 8 a.m. PST and 1:30 every Wednesday for
Okay.
7 years. Sally and I have been
Oh
doing
wow! I didn't
this
know that. So you,
healing and
yeah,
light transmission at 1:30
yeah,
Pacific. Again, just in your own space. There's no
yeah,
there's no call
yeah.
or anything.
Just like
But
Sandra's
yeah,
meditations
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
So it links in with that, and then
yeah,
also at 8 a.m. So, but it'll be right through tomorrow. So
yeah.
we'd love to have as many people. It's totally free. There's an event page 444 Unification for Liberation. It's called.
Okay.
It's on my timeline and stuff. We'd love to
Oh,
have as many souls tuning into that and just bringing energy for our unification for liberation.
and I've actually watched some of your videos and stuff too, but I feel like I've, like I had this certain, impression of you through observing, through seeing you for 5+ years, but talking to you today, like you just kind of blew it all away.
All
So,
right. Oh, now you got to
which
tell
is
me what you
good.
mean by that.
No, I mean, it's like you're much bigger than, than I even thought. I mean, so yes, thank you so much for honoring us and me, and sharing space with us. I'd love to
You're very
get together
welcome.
with you again.
I'd
You
love
know,
to get together and just bring through some more frequencies and meditation or whatever, and yeah,
yeah,
just
we could do
play.
something.
And
Yeah, we could. I
I'd love
didn't
to
even
do
give
that.
you, yeah, a chance to do any of that, but
Oh
I
no,
guess,
it's so fun.
yeah,
It's been great to
yeah,
talk and just yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. Because well, we could talk about a lot of things.
yeah.
This is really interesting.
And
Many,
I
many things.
hope we're going to get to meet in the physical soon. Are you guys on the East Coast just now? Where are
We're
you?
still in Florida,
Yeah.
and we're just in the same boat everybody else is in. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we we're here.
We're here.
So,
We
but
are. We are.
I'm sure, you know, we're going to be getting around and about, but like, you know, um, we don't even talk about it now. I mean, something's presented
Yeah.
to us,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we just talk about it for momentarily. And we know that
Yeah.
when we're supposed to go somewhere, we're going to be told, and we're going to
Yeah.
pack and go, just like leaving Kauai. We never thought we'd leave Kauai,
Yeah.
but you know, you get the
Yeah.
orders, you got to go.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's fast now, you know, like
It is
Sandra, it's just
fast.
like bump in, out, in, out.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to be the same here.
Yeah.
I could feel that
I'm
before this.
sure
So
that we will. I'm sure that we will.
we
You
will
know,
just whenever
yeah,
it's
I'm
meant to be.
sure
But
we'll
yeah,
connect at some point.
I smile at the perfect timing of this, you know, after
Mhm.
all these years that it's
Yeah.
right here, right now. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it
And
is.
I love you and thank you for
I
all
love you
that you
very
are.
much too, and thank you for what you
Mm.
do and your service to humanity.
Oh,
You take
you
care.
too.
We'll do it
Much
again
love.
if you're open to it
Bye.
sometime. Okay.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Okay.
Bye.
Perfect.